Hey everyone, and welcome back to Immigration Law Made Easy. Today we're going to discuss two important types of relief for undocumented immigrants. VAWA adjustment of status, which means you file for VAWA and your green card at the same time, and T visas. Now, you may think, okay, one has a green card and one is a visa, but what I'm going to talk to you about today is going to kind of explain the difference between the two of these things, what the options are, who qualifies, everything in simple terms, because as your host, Attorney Hillary, I'm here to give you the basic information in simple terms so that you can understand these complicated processes, these complicated things, and really be able to move forward in helping you with your immigration journey. So let's get started. First, let's talk about VAWA adjustment of status. For example, let's begin with who qualifies. Now, VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act. You can apply if you're a victim of domestic violence or abuse by a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident spouse, parent, and if it's your child, then they have to be a U.S. citizen over the age of 21. It applies to both men and women, and I have a lot of podcast episodes specifically about VAWA because it's one of my favorite case types, as are T visas, which is why I wanted to have this episode to kind of compare and contrast the two to help you with this. We'll link some of those in our show notes for you today so you can jump in and kind of understand a little bit more about VAWA. Now, when we think about the processing time for a VAWA green card, it can really vary, but the most of our cases, and we've filed hundreds and hundreds, and I probably not exaggerating, say well over 1,000, they usually take about 36 to 40 months right now at the time of recording. Keep in mind that USCIS is just getting more and more and more backlogged, and so you're having more and more cases in that backlog, and so in my experience, that is going to only increase more and more over the years to come. So it's best to get your VAWA filed now so that you're looking at 3.5 years versus what I foresee in the future being something a lot closer to 5 years for processing time. And when we think about the benefits of VAWA, benefits of an adjustment of status through VAWA, I'm going to highlight some of the really big benefits. Number one is you do the whole process here in the U.S. You never have to leave. I want to kind of reiterate that. Even if you enter illegally and you're going through the process, if you've properly been told you need to go through the VAWA adjustment of status process, even if you entered the country illegally, you will not leave during the process in order to fix your status. You may be able to leave because you want to go on vacation and see your family and those sorts of things, but you don't have to leave in order to get your green card. And that is huge for so many of my clients. Leaving just isn't really an option for everyone. Am I right? Next is you can apply for a green card without the abuser or the person who's, committed extreme cruelty against you. You can apply without their knowledge or their consent. Another way of putting this, and this is kind of what I talk about in my TED Talk on this topic, is it's like a self-petition. And in fact, immigration even calls it a self-petition as an I-360. It's a self-petition where you're petitioning for yourself. So your family members never sign any documents on your behalf. No petition is filed for you on your behalf by someone else. You're applying for yourself, okay? And that's why their involvement and their knowledge of the process is completely unnecessary. And in fact, the majority of my clients don't even talk to their spouse or their adult child about what process they're doing because it is simply unnecessary. Next, one of the big benefits of VAWA is it can help protect you while your case is pending from being deported. Now, it doesn't put a stop on your removal, but while you have your green card application pending, you would have to be put into your removal proceedings and that green card application be adjudicated and be decided before someone could deport you. So it really is a great way of protecting you while the process is being adjudicated, while your application is being processed. In most cases, this is one of the best benefits of all, is in most cases, you can get your social security card, your work permit, and your permission to travel all while you wait for your VAWA and your green card to be approved. So it's essentially like getting the majority of your documents up front while you wait those 36 to 40 months. In my firm, my experience is that most cases are like you get your documents while you wait, in most cases, in about 10 months after you file for VAWA. So let's say you apply for VAWA, your VAWA green card in January. You're going to be looking around October, November timeframe for a normal process for your social security card to come, your work permit to come, and if you're eligible and allowed to apply for it, your permission to travel outside the country and return within about 10 months. So January to October would be a good time frame. Just so you have that in the back of your mind. Again, like I often tell people, why wait? Why wait? If you can get this done, the whole process is long. You might as well get this party started. Get those documents while you wait. It's going to free up so much bandwidth for you because at least here in Arizona, and in fact in most states in the United States, if you have a work permit and a social security number, you're eligible to apply for your driver's license. In addition to applying for your driver's license, then you can also get your car insurance. Maybe you can move into an apartment that you've been wanting to move into, or even purchase a home because now you have a social security number. Awesome stuff. Keep in mind also that if you've been filing your taxes with an I-10 and ITIN number, then those are things that you can connect. Once you get your social security number, you can connect it with your I-10 because you'll use your social security number for filing taxes in the future. And that way you get all the benefits of all the social security that you paid in over the years and all the taxes that you filed. Those are going to be connected to your social security number so that someday when you retire, you'll be able to use those benefits because you've paid into that system. Next, with VAWA, we have an amazing opportunity with waivers of inadmissibility. Now, inadmissibility, it's kind of confusing where you're like, how am I inadmissible if I'm already here in the United States? And the simple answer is that you may already be here, but from an immigration perspective, they're saying that you're not allowed to go ahead and get your green card for various reasons. And that can be things like entering without permission or bringing your child to the United States, also known as alien smuggling. It may be a criminal conviction that you have. It may be that you claim to be a U.S. citizen at some point. Lots of different things that could make you inadmissible. And the nice thing about VAWA is you are able to be the basis of your own waiver of inadmissibility. This is possibly the most revolutionary aspect, in my opinion, if I do say so myself, of a VAWA application, where not only can applying for VAWA automatically forgive certain inadmissibilities, like entering one time without permission, it can automatically forgive that. But what's really amazing is you can also apply for a waiver. So let's say that you brought your young children here with you to the United States. That would be considered alien smuggling. Let's say that you're not married to a U.S. citizen. You don't have a lawful permanent resident spouse. The only family member who you have are your U.S. citizen children who are over the age of 21. Let's say they're the basis for your VAWA. You still wouldn't have, under normal circumstances, the ability to apply for a 601 or a 601A waiver because you don't have a qualifying relative. However, under the VAWA statutory provisions, you're allowed to use yourself as a basis for a waiver, and you always have yourself, right? So if you've got a ground of inadmissibility like alien smuggling or many other things that you may come up against, you can be the basis. If you could have gotten a waiver some other way, like through a U.S. citizen spouse, this helps you get a waiver because you are the qualifying relative for that waiver. So it's pretty amazing. It also can help you waive things, not only like the unlawful entry, but maybe you overstayed a visa, like you entered as a student or a tourist and you're overstaying. This can help you with that waiver of inadmissibility through VAWA, and even working without authorization. So these are various things where oftentimes it can be a ground of inadmissibility the VAWA is going to help you with. In some cases, it can also help you waive criminal grounds of inadmissibility if they were in connection to the abuse you experienced or the suffering that you've experienced through your qualifying family member. And in some cases, it can even help you with a false claim to U.S. citizenship if it was made before 1997, because that would have been a fraud or misrepresentation. But for the most part, VAWA cannot help you if you have a false claim to U.S. citizenship after 1997, or if you have drug-related crimes in most cases. But don't worry, when we get over into the T Visa, we're going to talk about these things again, and you're going to hear that maybe there's some good news for you. If you have those issues, there's some good news for you over here in T Visa land, all right? So let's get right to it. Who qualifies for a T Visa? Now, from a 30,000-foot view, a T Visa is for victims of human trafficking. And you may say, like, okay, I'm not a victim of human trafficking. And I would tell you, I might disagree with you, because victims of human trafficking, it's just a very common issue in the United States, especially in the immigrant community. So don't write yourself off from this by saying, I'm not a victim of abuse, I'm not a victim of human trafficking, and therefore these things don't apply to me. Please do not be your own lawyer, because that's what you'll be doing. If you make the assessment or make the decision as I'm talking and you say, I'm not a victim of human trafficking, there's absolutely no way, you are making a legal conclusion about your case. What you should do instead is, let's have an open mind. Let's have an open mind and have some curiosity and say, who knows? Let's leave it to the experts. Let's leave it to the pros to decide. And so I'm going to talk to someone who specializes in this so they can tell me whether or not I qualify for this immigration option. So as I'm talking about human trafficking, labor exploitation, sex exploitation, I want you to keep an open mind, because we are truly the experts on this. We're truly the pros on this. So allow me to describe this and really maybe foster some hope for you so that you can think through, all right, maybe I want to at least find out if this applies to me. So the important distinction for a T Visa, in addition to needing to be a human trafficking survivor or an attempted human trafficking survivor. So perhaps someone just attempted to do this to you and didn't actually go all the way through. You can still qualify for a T Visa. The really cool thing here is you don't need to be married to anybody who has status in the United States. By contrast, you remember when I was talking about VAWA, you have to either be married to a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, your parent needs to be a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, or your child needs to be an adult, so over the age of 20, and they have to be a U.S. citizen. But here's the thing, with T Visas, your family can just be your family. You don't even have to have family. It's all based on your experience as a human trafficking survivor. It's not based on your marriage. It's not based on anything else. So if you happen to be married to someone who is also undocumented, no problem for a T Visa. In fact, we may be able to even include them with your T Visa application, and that's what we do in so many cases in my firm. If your kids are not U.S. citizens, no problem with the T Visa, because it doesn't matter what your kids or your spouse's status is. And the best part is, even if you're not married, you can still qualify for a T Visa. It does not matter what your family status is. So I really want to underscore that. That is a big game changer when we look at VAWA versus T Visa. So a really big, important distinction. Another important distinction is the processing time. T Visas generally get processed within 12 to 14 months. So I want to contrast 36 to 40 months for a VAWA green card to get processed, and in some cases it takes even longer. By contrast, a T Visa can take 12 to 14 months usually. That's our firm's experience. USCIS may post different guidelines, but we get those cases, we get our approvals within 12 to 14 months like a clock. So what a huge opportunity where you're basically cutting the processing time down by 3. So instead of 36 months, 12 months. Pretty amazing. Let's talk about the benefits of a T Visa. Just like with VAWA, you do not need to leave the United States in order to fix your status. You do the whole process in the U.S. In fact, you really need to be in the U.S. for this T Visa process to work. Where with VAWA, if you happen to need to be in your home country, you could still go through the VAWA process. But for almost any other case for a T visa, you have to be in the US. So you do the whole process here, okay? Next is you can stay in the US for up to 4 years after you get approved and apply for a green card. The nice thing about a T visa is more or less right after you get your T visa approval, you can apply for your green card. Right now, there is a 3-year wait stated in like the NOLA regulations, but from what we can tell, USCIS is really moving away from that and is allowing people to apply right after they get their approval, which is just absolutely amazing. So again, you're shaving off 2.5 to 3 years of wait time for being able to get not only apply but get your green card with a T visa. So it really is an incredible option. The other aspect, the other benefit that I just love about T visas is that immediate family members may also be eligible for the T visa, and the generous waiver that comes with the T visa can apply to them as well. So speaking about generous waiver, let's talk about the T visa waiver. The T visa can waive many, in fact, I would say most grounds of inadmissibility, including things like unlawful presence, working without authorization, and a lot of criminal activity. It can waive health-related grounds, previous immigration violations like deportations and illegal reentries and a permanent bar. It can waive false claims to U.S. citizens, aggravated felonies, crimes involving moral turpitude, drug convictions in so many cases. Now, it's a discretionary waiver, so not everything is going to be like slam dunk. If you apply for this with a T visa, it's going to be approved. But where with most other immigration cases, you're not even eligible to be able to apply for a waiver with a T visa, you're at least eligible to apply for a waiver. And every single one of our waivers at New Frontier Immigration Law has been approved. And I'm not looking to change that anytime soon. So if you have a complicated case, my ask is just give me a chance. Let me have at it. I would love to know what your complicated case is so that we can help you. I want to transition now into really highlighting the key differences between VAWA and a T visa to really compare and contrast. VAWA is specifically for victims of domestic violence or abuse by a family member who is a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Your family member is the person who's causing you this harm. T visas, by contrast, are for victims of human trafficking, and that can include domestic violence. You can be a victim of domestic violence, but it doesn't matter who is causing you the harm or what their immigration status is. It can be an employer who is also undocumented. It can be a spouse or a boyfriend or a long-term father of your children who's causing you this harm, and you have never been married. It's no problem. It could be an ex-boyfriend who harmed you years ago while you were in college, and you haven't seen that person in 5 years. All of these are cases that may qualify for a T visa, and you don't have to have been married to them, and they don't have to have status in the United States, okay? Next, the big difference between a T visa and VAWA are the processing times. VAWA generally takes 36 to 40 months. T visas, you're looking at 12 to 14 months. Next is family connection. Again, I really want to highlight this where the type of abuse is different for a T visa and VAWA. VAWA is domestic violence, is verbal abuse, it's cruelty. USCIS and the statute call it extreme cruelty. It can be threatening to call eyes on you when you're in an argument. It can be throwing a remote control across the room while you're in a really big fight. It can be saying, I'm going to call the cops on you as a way to threaten and control you. It can be forcing you to have sex and get pregnant with your spouse under threat of, I'm going to leave you and you're never going to see the rest of your kids again if you don't get me pregnant again. It is so many things, but it has to come from a family member, okay? T visas, by contrast, don't require a family connection, but it's based on human trafficking, okay? So it doesn't matter who the family member is, if they are a family member, or if it's just a random person who's your boss, it doesn't matter. And that's the big difference between those two things. Lastly, we also have the assistance with law enforcement requirement. With VAWA, there's no requirement that you report anything to law enforcement. Oftentimes, I would say for 99.9% of my cases that I've done for VAWA, we don't even have a police report. We have simply the client's statement about what they experienced. With T visas, however, in most cases, we have to report the trafficking to law enforcement, and we usually do this by email. Okay, so it's a really simple process, and it sounds kind of intimidating to think I'm going to have to report this to law enforcement, but it really is. We have mastered this. We do it on your behalf so that you're not the person who's having to deal with law enforcement. Both T visas, in conclusion today, both T visas and VAWA offer vital protection and enhanced permanent residency for those who qualify, and you don't need to leave the country while you go through the process. So if you think you might be eligible for either option, it's important to speak with an immigration attorney to explore your options. I can help you no matter what state you are in. So if you are all the way in Pennsylvania or New York or Chicago or California, at New Frontier Immigration Law, we can help you where you are. And please remember, you are not alone. There are legal pathways to help you find safety and security here in the United States. Thank you so much for listening today to our episode on Immigration Law Made Easy. Please share this with a friend. Only way for us to spread the knowledge about T visas and about VAWA is through you. So please share this with a friend who might need the help. And if you need any assistance or have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm Attorney Hillary, your host. And until next time, take care and don't give up. Bye, friends.